Nick Chubb, running back, 2014 to 2017. Nick Chubb was a standout running back for the University of Georgia from 2014 to 2017, playing under coaches Mark Richt and Kirby Smart. A native of Cedartown, Georgia, Chubb made an immediate impact as a freshman in 2014, stepping in for the suspended Todd Gurley, rushing for 1,547 yards and 14 touchdowns, earning first-team All-SEC honors and SEC Freshman of the Year. His 2015 season was off to a Heisman-level start before a devastating knee injury on the first play of the sixth game, but he still managed 747 yards and 7 touchdowns. Returning from injury in 2016, he had over 200 yards rushing in his first game back against North Carolina. For the season, he rushed for 1,130 yards and 8 touchdowns, earning second-team All-SEC honors. In 2017, Chubb, along with Sony Michel, Lorenzo Carter, and Davin Bellamy, returned for their senior years. He capped his career with 1,345 yards and 15 touchdowns, securing first-team All-SEC honors and helping Georgia win the SEC championship and reach the national championship game. Over 4 seasons, he amassed 4,769 rushing yards and 44 touchdowns, ranking second in both UGA and SEC history for career rushing yards. He was drafted in the second round of the 2018 NFL Draft.
Welcome to the Nitro College Football Show's 50 Greatest Georgia Players of the 2000s. Tonight we are talking about one of the greatest running backs in Georgia history, SEC history, NCAA history, one Nick Chubb. Street, tell us about it.
Nick Chubb was my favorite player to watch rush the football. I loved watching Nick Chubb run the ball more than the highlights of Herschel Walker, because this was a guy who wasn't afraid to contact, who wasn't afraid to break tackles. From the time he stepped on campus in that very first game in 2014 against Clemson, the game I like to call the Todd Gurley game, Nick Chubb breaks off a long run, loses his shoe, and still runs it in for a touchdown. Later in the year, when Gurley gets suspended, Nick Chubb takes over as the lead running back and just puts up 100 yards for all those games in a row. Most heartbreaking moment I think I've ever seen on in college football is Nick Chubb tearing his knee on that field in Tennessee. But it was triumphant when he came back and rushed for 200 yards against North Carolina the next year. And this guy was just the absolute perfection of a professional player on the field. Scores a touchdown, hands the ball to the ref, doesn't celebrate, just does his business. And I love that guy. Yeah, and it was sad. It was just sad that he didn't get to win a national championship.
He was the big bruising back version of Barry Sanders.
Right. And, he leaves Georgia as the second all-time leading rusher in SEC history behind Herschel Walker. And he did that despite missing half of the season. Now, of course, he did play 4 years. Herschel played 3, but just an amazing player. The backfield with him and Sony after Todd Gurley left, and the transition to him and Sony and DeAndre Swift. Just an amazing player. One of the 4 guys that came back in 2017 to lead that team along with Sony and Davin Bellamy and Lorenzo Carter, really established what was the Kirby Smart mindset in Athens.
Yeah, just like I said before, one of the greatest backs in Georgia history. A lot of fun to watch. He was kind of like a bowling ball, where he just kept going, and there was nothing flashy about it whatsoever. But he would just bounce off guys and just keep running down the field. It was simple as that, and that was awesome. It's absolutely awesome. And he was huge in that national championship run. To get back to the national championship, to get Georgia in that game for the first time in 40 years. Didn't work out, but still, he was part of one of the best moments, best games in Georgia history, in football history, and in that Rose Bowl game versus Oklahoma, where he had 145 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns.
Right, he had like 6 carries.
Yeah, I mean, just crazy. He just went off.
Yeah. All right. Well, up next, we have arguably the greatest tight end in college football history. Until next time, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.